Aloha and good morning, everybody. Welcome to our economic development hearing today, Friday, February 10th, 10:30 a.m. Conference room 423. In order to allow as many people to testify as possible, there will be a 2-minute time limit per testifier. Please know that committee members have received and read your written testimony, so if you'd like to stand on your written testimony, that would be appreciated. We're continuing our hybrid system with Zoom and live testifiers this year, and I'd just like to ask members on Zoom to please keep yourself muted and your video off while waiting to testify and after your testimony is complete. Please avoid using any profanity and from using any trademarked or copyrighted images in your background. And first up on our agenda, we have House Bill 700, relating to the fuel tax. Suspends the state fuel tax for the period of July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. First up, we have Department of Taxation with comments.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Kathy Nee, representing the Department of Taxation. Department of Taxation stands by its written testimony with comments, but I would just like to use the time to stress that the department does highly recommend that we do move the effective dates of this bill from July 1st, 2023 to January 1st, 2024, and also repeal the amended date accordingly, just due to the fact that the fuel tax is only going to be only applies to the liquid fuel tax for the counties of Honolulu, Hawaii, Maui, and Kauai. All other taxes will remain in effect. And so just to implement that, it's going to require, a lot of form changes and system implements. So I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have State Department of Transportation in opposition. Oh, nobody here on Zoom. Next, we have Department of Budget and Finance in opposition.
Chair, Vice Chair Louis Oliveri, Department of Budget and Finance, the department will respectfully stand on its testimony in opposition.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Tax Foundation of Hawaii with comments.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation of Hawaii. For some reason, I can't hear you, but that's okay. I will stand on my written testimony and be able to answer any questions. Hopefully, the issue is resolved before that time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all the people that signed up to testify in person or in Zoom. Is there anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, do we have any questions? Nope. Seeing none, we'll be moving on to House Bill 932, relating to the motion picture, digital media, and film production income tax credit. Changes the total amount of motion picture, digital media, and film production income tax credits allowed per year from $50 million to an unspecified amount. First up, we have Department of Taxation with comments.
Hi, Kathy Nee again for the Department of Taxation. Department stands on its written testimony with comments. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have DBED.
Chair, we stand on our testimony. We're here to answer your questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Chris Lee, University of Hawaii, in support.
Morning, Chair. University of Hawaii appreciates the opportunity to support this measure and stand by for any questions.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Tom Yamachika, if you can hear me. Maybe not. We'll get back to Tom. We have IATSC 665 with comments.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Tui Scanlon, IATSC Local 665. Standing on our written testimony, providing comments, and just wanted to express that as it reads, it almost seems as if it says to remove the cap, in which case would be great and potentially offer near exponential growth, but would require significant administrative assistance to ensure the ethical, equitable, and efficient administration of these public funds. Conversely, we are slightly concerned that this may become a vehicle for folks to, via future amendments, to lower the tax incentive, which would be detrimental to our industry and to our local working families that participate in this industry. Available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Honolulu Film Office with comments on Zoom. Please unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. Aloha, Chair, members of the committee. I stand on the written testimony that is in supporting the intent of the measure to increase the cap to be able to ignite the film industry and move things forward. I stand by with any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Island Film Group in support.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Ricardo Galindas, Island Film Group, here to support this measure, stand on our testimony with proposed changes and available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all the people who signed up to testify in person or on Zoom. Is there anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Members, do we have any questions? I have a question for Georgia.
Morning, Chair.
Good morning.
Vice Chair, members of the committee.
So, some of the testimony always alludes to us running out of money with the current cap and, reaching into the next year and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And always talks come up about uncapping it,
Mm-hmm.
and how much money would be used if we were to uncap? What would the spend be for the state?
I think in some cases, this is a situation where Hawaii is self-limiting in the type of productions that come here, so that has to be understood at the base level. Second of all, I think what's important is that we have made it, each year has been 75 million, 70 million, so we are already 20 or 25 million over, and we are eating into future years. So we have already eaten into 2024. What that means is that we have to tell filers that are filing for productions now that you won't get your, and I think we've heard it in previous testimony, there's already a delay in some cases. So it hurts us as an industry. It hurts us to keep it at the 50 million, and if there is latitude to move it, then we're happy to provide all the details that are necessary to make decisions on behalf of this important industry for Hawaii.
How you just said that you eat into future years. How many future years can you eat into? If we're taking 75 a year, that 2 of those years should eat up the entire cap for an out
Right,
year.
yeah, so in 2024, I believe we have about 20 million left of the 50, based on what we're projecting that's coming in. So, for example, 78 million in 2022, which means that we have to carry that balance forward, the difference between the 50 and the 78. So that really leaves us very little to offer productions, and of course, we hate seeing that. Raising the cap is a key, and we support those measures that are moving through that would be able to raise it at least to 75. But we do know there's always fiscal impacts, so we feel that the benefits of this industry provide much more benefit to our local families and community than what may be perceived as the cost to the state.
So what happens in 24 if there's another $75 million? And does that leave zero for 25?
No. So 50 million every year.
Yeah, but you said the 23 money is going to eat up into 25 million of the 24 money. So if there's only 25 million left of the 24 money, and then it's just, that's going to be eaten up easily. Let's say another 75 would take the whole next year's cap. So
Yeah, so you're borrowing from the future, which is never good in your personal finances or in this case. I can tell you that it's the 2022 number that I'm talking about. I don't know what 2023 is yet.
I don't know. Just thinking out loud. Maybe we need to put some protections, because how soon do we get into 2035 money?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, and I think that it would be worthwhile for us to work up sort of an information sheet, which we have been asked by WHAM to do some deep dive on certain things. So I think it's important that we show the legislature what that looks like. It is a concern that we certainly are not how should we say, we're not offering the best that we can. And all of these things work in concert with building a workforce to actually meet the need of growing the industry, as well as the need to build purpose-built facilities, which we desperately need.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Chair.
Georgia, sorry, can you come back up? Thank you. Can you guys give us a like a breakdown of what the production costs is like on average here on Oahu and also on the neighbor islands?
Oops. Stand by. So for 2022, the overall spend was $390 million that came in for the tax credit. The estimated tax credit claim, and we say estimated because until we get the actual Hawaii production reports that come in March, the 90 days after the close of their filing year, that will adjust somewhat. So again, estimated. The total for Oahu is $367 million, and the estimated total for neighbor islands is $22 million. $18 million on the Big Island, $310,000 on Kauai, $3,334 million on Maui County, and $20,000 for Molokai.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any further questions? Well, seeing none, we'll be moving on. House Bill 1194. Oh, yes, sir. Sorry, this is for which measure? Okay, please state your name.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair. Mike West on behalf of Teamsters Local 996 and the Chief Steward. Mahalo for the opportunity to provide testimony on today's bill. The Teamsters Local 996 are here today to champion the protections of our valued workforce and to ensure a robust economy for Hawaii. We mahalo Representative Lamusao and her fellow representatives for their leadership and foresight to raise the annual motion picture, digital media, and film production income tax from $50 million to $75 million. This increase will definitely allow for more productions to be done here in Hawaii. HB 932 is a good start, but there are a few critical labor and vendor protections that need to be included to ensure the film tax credit will also benefit our local workers and vendors. The Teamsters Local 996 support HB 932 with amendments. The amendments for your consideration is as follows. 1, all qualified productions must have no less than 75% local union hires. 2, all qualified productions will utilize 100% local vendors. If local vendors do not have the inventory on hand or in state of Hawaii, then A, productions must allow local vendors first opportunity to import any equipment, materials, and supplies before outsourcing to any out-of-state company. B, local vendors must be extended an adequate and reasonable time frame to allow for shipping to the state of Hawaii within 15 days of confirmed production and no later than 30 days prior to shoot date. 3, all qualified productions must submit a notarized list of out-of-state hires and vendors that were utilized for a production and the reasons why local union workers and vendors were not utilized. Without these protections, listed as targets for production companies wanting the state of Hawaii tax credit, we will continue to provide an opening for imported labor and vendor services. We need to grow and support our local workforce and small businesses. We humbly and respectfully ask for your support to include these critical amendments. Thank you. I'm here to answer any questions, if you guys have any.
Thank you. Members, any questions?
For debate?
Majority Leader for.
Hi. Thank you for your testimony. We just heard from the Teamsters Local 996 about some additional guardrails to protect local workers and the workforce. Do you believe that amendments are the proposed amendments would work and can be implemented?
Yeah, I think I'd like to read through them. We have had some discussions with the Teamsters. I think that there are certain regulations already in place for those production entities that are already signatory to both unions, and they are required to do that. That's already part of the tax credit. So I think we need to look further into other areas of concern. It is something that I think is important, but at the same time, I feel I need to read through what the exact language is to better comment.
Yeah, it sounds like if it was already being implemented, that these guardrails would not be necessary, but it's being proposed, so
Yes,
it's
we have to.
raising questions
Mhm.
about some of the loopholes that might exist.
Yeah, I would say this is a very tightly managed program. I know that Donnie Dawson, our film commissioner, might also want to share a few comments on that. But from our perspective, any signatory, there are shows, for example, that have been issues, and those are more reality shows that are signatory to maybe one union and not the other. So that does offer a concern, and we understand that from the Teamsters. I think we have to collaborate and work together to make this a strong, one voice, one mission entity for our state. It is an economic driver, and I feel that reading through what they have, we're certainly open to that, and maybe can come back as the measure moves forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Any further questions, members? Seeing none, we're moving on to House Bill 1194, relating to an Economic Development District Planning Organization, establishes the Hawaii Economic Development District Planning Organization, designates the Hawaii Economic Development District Planning Organization as a district organization for purposes of implementing the United States Economic Development Administration approved Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, establishes positions, appropriates monies. First up, Scott Glenn, in support.
On behalf of Director Scott Glenn for the Office of Planning and Sustainable Development, I'm Mary Alice Evans, the branch manager. We stand in strong support of this measure, and we thank you very much for considering it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's the only testimony we received on this measure. Is there anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, do we have any questions? Seeing none, we're moving on to House Bill 1314, relating to taxes, requires productions to provide evidence of reasonable efforts to comply with all applicable requirements to qualify for the motion picture, digital media, and film production income tax credit. Requires taxpayers be given notice and an opportunity to cure requirements for the motion picture, digital media, and film production income tax credit. First up, we have Department of Taxation with comments.
Kathleen for Department of Taxation, we stand on our written testimony with comments. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have DBED.
Thank you, sir. We stand on our testimony of support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Chris Lee, University of Hawaii, with support.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning again. The university stands on its testimony and support and is available for questions.
Thank you very much. And next, we have Tom Yamachika, Tax Foundation of Hawaii. Still. There you go.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. I do have my audio back, thank goodness. We have submitted written testimony. We were concerned about the two additional requirements inserted by Act 217 of Session Laws of Hawaii 2022, and we appreciate the approach that this bill takes to make those requirements more flexible. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Motion Picture Association, in support. Anybody on Zoom?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Melissa Patak for the Motion Picture Association. We're the trade association for the leading producers and distributors of filmed entertainment across all platforms, your favorite movies, TV shows, and streaming series. Our member companies include Disney, NBC Universal, Netflix, Paramount, Sony Pictures, and Warner Brothers. We are in support of the bill. We did submit written testimony. This is really a very technical issue. The new law that was passed last year requires remitting and withholding GET tax, the general excise tax, on loan-out companies. Those loan-out companies need to have GET identification numbers. Some of them have not yet come into compliance with that requirement. We know it's been a requirement for some time, but now with this withholding and remitting requirement, our companies are working to make sure that all of those loan-outs have the GET ID. It's taking a little bit more time, so this bill simply allows a little additional time for the companies to cure, and when they have the GET information, cure any remitting that didn't happen in a prompt way. So it's just a technical fix to a slight problem, and we are working on it, and there's every intention to come into full compliance and ensure all of the withholding and remitting is done. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have IATSC Local 665 with comments. Next, we have Honolulu Film Office in support.
Good morning again, Chair, members of the committee. I stand by the written testimony in support of this measure and am available if there are any questions.
And Island Film Group in support.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Stand on our written testimony in support.
Thank you very much. That's all the testimony we have. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, do we have any questions? See none, we'll be moving on to House Bill 853, relating to business establishments, adds a new chapter to HRS to establish a system of regulatory controls for shopping carts and similar devices to prevent unauthorized removal from business establishments, provide for prompt retrieval when lost, stolen, or abandoned, require business owners to take certain specified actions to deter, prevent, or mitigate the removal of these devices from their premises and to retrieve any removed devices, and to prevent the continued possession of unlawfully removed shopping carts and other similar devices and the accumulation of these devices on publicly or privately owned property. First up, we have Tina Yamaki, Retail Merchants of Hawaii, in opposition.
Aloha and good morning. I'm Tina Yamaki with the Retail Merchants of Hawaii. We stand in opposition to this measure as it's written. Retailers provide shopping carts as a convenience for their customers while they are shopping on property, and we experience the loss every day on these carts. These carts are not cheap to replace, and people removing the carts are in fact stealing these carts with no penalties or repercussion for them doing so. And this has been a frustrating problem, not only for the community, but Lord knows for us retailers as well. The mandates in this bill would be very costly, not only to the retailers, but the customers as well, as these costs would be passed on, making goods even more expensive, like food, clothing, electronics, home goods, and anywhere shopping carts are used. If you think your eggs and your groceries are expensive now, to implement these things that are in this bill is going to be a lot more expensive, because we will be passing it down. If we can't pass it down, what we're going to do is look to see where we can cut costs, and a lot of times that means automations and people losing their jobs. People also found ways to take these parts out. You know, the ones with the pulls, they pop a wheelie, get it under the door, and they're out the door. Parts with locking devices, we have found them to be very expensive. And also, the residentially challenged have found ways to break off the locks on these carts. And it is expensive to install. It's not up to the retailers, but actually the shopping centers as well, for putting them together or letting us break up their parking lot, putting in all of this stuff. And it is very costly with asphalt and all the permits needed to do this. The penalties and fees place on the entire burden on the retailers, who are the victims of these thefts, and not for keeping their carts on premises and then wanting to find them when they're unable to recover stolen property in a short time. There are a lot of these businesses, especially the mom and pop, don't have cargo vans or things like that to pick up the carts. There used to be a company or a couple of people going around, but after COVID, we have heard that they're no longer doing that. Nobody wants to put these carts in their personal vehicles or in their trucks. Residentially challenged have found useful ways to use them as restrooms, barbecues, putting all their stuff in, and nobody wants to put things like creepy crawlies in their car. So, you know, it is something that we need to work on, but putting up signage in all of this is not the answer. I think the focus really has to be on how can we deter these people. We even have Kapuna who bring it to the bus stops or back to their apartments, and they think that's okay to do because it is a part of a customer service when it's really stealing, but they don't want to listen to that. They don't think it's stealing. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the testimony we received on this measure. Is there anybody wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, questions, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Tina. This question is for you. So noting your concerns, whose responsibility is it then if these carts are in our neighborhoods to remove? Is it the city, is it the state, or is it the retailers?
So what we're finding out right now is the city will go around to neighborhoods and pick up the carts. If there is a name on the cart, then they drop it off in the parking lot of the closest store with the name on. If the carts have no names on them, then the city will destroy them.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions, members? I have some questions. You know, obviously the goal here is not to raise prices on customers, but I think it's pretty obvious that shopping carts are littering our streets. And although you state in your testimony that this is a convenience for our customers while they're shopping, I would argue that it's an inconvenience for our constituents every day to have them on the streets. So I understand that this may not be the vehicle and the correct method to address this issue, but I do feel that it's very important that we start the conversation. There are other countries who don't have shopping carts, who don't use shopping carts. So I don't know. I understand like the convenience, but is convenience more important than people's quality of life? So that's just where I'm coming from, and I hope that we'll be able to work together to try to find a solution, because there are hundreds of shopping carts on the streets in my district. I think my colleagues would all agree, and if we don't ever address it, then it's only going to get worse. So I hope we can work together on something. I hope, you know, I wish we could have the police here, but, you know, as what I understand currently is that they are stealing, but the retailers are not willing to prosecute. So, you know, would businesses be able to help us somehow? And I understand, but I mean, there's got to be something that we can do.
You know, it's a frustrating, and it's a chicken and the egg thing. Where the carts are being stolen, but a lot of times we don't find out about it until later on, right? And when we do call the police, you know, they come and take the report, but they don't really, you know what, okay. So, you know, we all know that HPD is understaffed right now, and they have more important things than to go after the people who steal the carts. And if that was the case, then why aren't all the residentially challenged who have shopping carts, especially with brand names on them, being arrested? Because shopping carts cost anywhere from $300, some are $750, some are even more than that. They're not very cheap. They're very expensive.
So I understand you saying, you know, by putting in some kind of mitigating devices or hiring extra people to watch would raise prices on customers, but we're currently paying in our taxes for the services of the removal on the streets, the HPD services. So although it may not be the same, we're still paying for these somehow. And, you know, I know they're used for the stores, but you guys are basically putting carts on the streets for anybody to take. There's nothing to stop anybody from taking them off property.
Yeah, like I said, there are some that have the brakes on them, but they still find ways to break off the brakes and use the carts. You know, we've been trying all different ways as retailers to curb this problem. It's just been very difficult.
Understood. Well, thank you for the discussion. I hope we can continue to work on something, because I think this is a very big issue that we all face. And, you know, in my eyes, it's one of the number one things that allow people to be on the streets. And, we are all working to try to get these people off the streets, and you guys are giving them free transportation. So thank you very much.
Not that we're giving them, they're just taking the free transportation. But yes, we are very willing to work with you on this.
Thank you. Any further questions, members? If not, we'll be moving on to the last measure. House Bill 991 relating to the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation increases the cap for awards to assist businesses applying for the Small Business Innovation Research Grant Program and the Small Business Technology Transfer Grant Program, adds purchasing of renewable energy systems as an eligible expense, and clarifies that training on both new and existing manufacturing equipment is an eligible expense for the Manufacturing Development Grant Program. First up, we have DBED.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, strongly support. Thank you. Senator Tessman.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Chamber of Commerce on Hawaii in support. And HCDC in support.
Excuse me. Thank you, Chair. We stand on our testimony and support. Just wanted to clarify, this bill, the first part is to increase the amount from 3,000 to 6,000. We provide grant writing assistance to first-time applicants to encourage more companies to participate. But in recent years, the cost of the assistance has gone up, so we're requesting to increase the amount that we can provide as award. The second part is related to allowing renewable energy as an acceptable expense. That was feedback from the manufacturers that we work with. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have Hawaii Food Industry Association in support.
Thank you, Chair. Lauren Zorbel on behalf of Hawaii Food Industry Association. We're in strong support of this measure. It actually falls under 2 of our 3 legislative priorities, so it helps with renewable energy adoption, and it also helps with workforce training, development, and recruitment. So this is a great bill. I know that there's differing opinions on how to best incentivize things, but I think that this is a really great way to use a grant funding approach to address workforce issues and also to address the adoption of renewable and sustainable energy sources. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wishing to testify on this measure? Seeing none, members, any questions? Majority Leader.
I have a question for Mr. Higashi.
Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Lynn, for being here. I wanted to ask you about the federal funds that you're able to leverage with these funds. Is there a cap to the amount of federal funds we can access, or is it based on how much general funds we have in place?
The program you're referring to is called our Small Business Innovation Research. It's roughly $4 billion of federal funds available, but it's a competition. So all states, all small businesses across the country compete for these awards. We provide, in this case, we provide grant writing assistance to help the companies participate. There's no cap on the federal, $4 billion is a pretty big pot. The limitation is the number of companies that we have here applying for it. That's why we're trying to incentivize, encourage more people to apply, and also providing them a stronger start.
Yeah, okay. And I just think that, thanks for providing this data, because it shows how much federal funds you are leveraging, and then how much private capital you're leveraging with the other program.
Thank you very much. We're very proud of that.
Yeah, that sounds like something we should try to be encouraging, so thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate the question.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? If not, we'll recess for decision making. All right, welcome back for decision making on our 10:30 agenda. First up, we have House Bill 700 relating to the fuel tax. Noting the opposing testimony from the departments, I still think that this measure is worth a discussion to move forward, as our colleagues and our neighbors from far away drive a lot, and they could use some relief on their fuel tax. So we're going to be moving this out with a defective date of June 30th, 3000. Members, any questions, concerns?
Just want to commend the committee for decreasing taxes.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Members, we are now voting on HB 700. Recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Member Hussey Burdick? Aye. Member Kong?
With reservations.
With reservations for Member Kong. Member Nakamura?
Aye.
Member Quinlan excused. Member Purick?
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Next measure, House Bill 932, relating to the motion picture, digital media, and film production income tax credit. Just wanted to clarify to everybody that our intention is not to decrease the amount of this tax credit, but it's also not to uncap the tax credit. I think we have some things that we need to work towards. We do appreciate the proposed amendments from the Teamsters. We will not be accepting those amendments at the moment, but we will look forward to working with you folks to, put some more rails on this if necessary. So at this point, we're going to just be moving this forward with a defective date of June 30th, 3000. Members, do you have any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
We're now voting on HB 932. Recommendation of the chair is passed with amendments. Noting the excused absence of Member Quinlan. Any member voting no? Any member voting with reservations? All members vote aye, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. On to House Bill 1194, relating to an economic development district planning organization. Going to be moving this bill forward, also with a defective date of June 30th, 3000. Members, any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
We are now voting on HB 1194. Recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments, noting the excused absence of Member Quinlan. Any member voting no, any member voting with reservations. All members vote aye, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Next, on to House Bill 1314, relating to taxes. Just a little bit of clarification. We are going to accept the amendment from Doe Tax just to clear up a little bit of that language, and also defer the date to 6/30/3000. Members, any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
We are now voting on HB 1314. Recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments. Noting the excused absence of Member Quinlan. Any member voting no, any member voting with reservations. All members vote aye, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. On to the next one, House Bill 853, relating to business establishments. Noting the very difficult issue that this is that we all face, I do understand that there is no simple answer. I do intend to introduce a resolution and maybe start a task force so we can take up these issues and try to get, something, better conditions for our community members out on the streets. So we're going to be defecting this measure at the time. Last measure, House Bill 991, relating to the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation. We're going to blank out the per grant amount and defect the date to 6/30/3000. We will note the $6,000 amount in our committee report. Members, any questions, concerns? 991. Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
We are now voting on HB 991. Recommendation of the chair is to pass with amendments, noting the excused absence of Member Quinlan. Any member voting no, any member voting with reservations. All members vote aye, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, everybody. We're adjourned.